Welcome to Metafile Minutes, our second episode. In this series, we delve into the art of automation and the future of financial operations. We're going to spend the year going through success stories, hearing from experts, and understanding what the latest tech trends are. So whether you're a financial professional, tech enthusiast, or a business leader, I look forward to hearing from you over the course of the next upcoming months as we deliver some actionable insights and some very forward-thinking strategies. And with that, welcome once again to Metafile Minutes, our second episode. Today, as you'll remember, last week, we had the godfathers of automation, the ones that had coded the program that has been around and has made us a company for 45 years. This week, we have the experts of accounts payable. We have the ones that keep me and the rest of us in line and that understand the benefits of automating your systems, but have also been through maybe some of the heartache of having to change processes from the old to the new. And with that, I'd like you to welcome Kathy Hanna and Julie Valsing. Thanks very much for joining me today. Good morning.
You are welcome.
You know, maybe just to let everyone know from the audience side, how long have both of you been working within the financial realm and then also from that within accounts payable specifically?
So I have been in the financial and AP. I've done that except for a small stint, maybe when I worked for Metafile, but I've kind of done all of that since I graduated college. I won't give that year, but quite a while, quite a while.
And I'm kind of on the same traction. Since college, I've been in the financial area. Yeah, most of my career, short of a few other in-between things, but yes.
No, and I appreciate that. That means you've got to see some of the evolution that's come, into the financial world. And so, what do you think? Like when you first started in accounts payable, what do you remember about that process, or like maybe some of the, the irritations, if you will, that used to arise when you were looking at invoicing?
Prior to automation?
Prior to automation, yes.
Very manual, very having to find people, having to write things down, having to manually scan things. It was a lot of very manual process.
Right.
Yes, having to manual entry into the ERP.
Correct. Finding approvers in the building when they're in and out.
Right. I mean, I guess that right there is a huge, that's a great segue into, the fact that having to find approvers in the building. I mean, now so many of us are working, whether it be a hybrid role or fully remote. So automation, when do you think automation really took off within the accounts payable? Was that a COVID phenomenon or a pre-COVID that even that started to, gain traction?
Oh, I mean, I believe like for a lot of companies, probably COVID forced them to maybe look at that sort of. Ourselves, we started like in the spring of 2021. We had already had thoughts of going to the AP automation, but we actually implemented AP automation in the spring of 2021.
Okay. And were you both part of that implementation team, or did you come after?
I was part of it.
Julie was part of it. I was pulled in at that time. I was not working. I was working in more of an HR payroll role, but because I was underneath still the finance team and I was helping or would back up on occasion, I was brought into some of the training and to be able to see some of the background. But Julie was part of it from day one.
Okay. And so Julie, I mean, thank you. And Julie, from day one then, was it very easy to just take your manual process, explain what that process is, and then have an automation platform automate it? Or did you have to make a lot of right and left-hand turns in terms of processing so that you could fit the automation tool?
As far as I remember, I mean, I don't remember anything very painful, so it was fairly easy to transition.
And we had a third team member who was kind of the lead, who is not on this today, but who was the lead that kind of probably would have a little more insight to some of that
Right.
background with the team on how it went through. We underneath, and Julie was just kind of the back end to give some of how the process
enough.
worked. And
I mean, still here, still smiling, still looking great. So it couldn't have been that stressful.
hey, it did make our lives easier. It did make our lives easier.
It did.
I'm happy to hear that. And I think that, you know, the common message I hear as I talk to more and more customers and just individuals is that life on the other side of it is definitely easier. But like anything, there's just, you know, change does create a little bit of chaos. And so it's just a matter of how can we manage that chaos and make sure that we're still able to move in the right direction.
And we're very small scale. So
Right.
we have very small amount of AP. Actually, it kind of interests me to hear from companies or see something like this, what they did before or after, or how this was, that are processing. I mean,
Right.
You probably have dedicated AP workers that all day long were just working on that. So bigger companies that.
Yeah, and just working and then having to go, back to the filing cabinet to find a file and hope that it was filed properly, and then go back and then, oh, I need a different one. And, just the amount of time that was kind of spent doing that, it would have been great for all of our steps, but maybe not the best for efficiency within the workplace.
Right.
So, we're kind of dancing around that, but what do you think the biggest advantage of automation is, that you both take in your current roles now? Like, what does automation really offer to both of you?
Well, you can track where every invoice and payable is in the process. You can see where it's at and you can track it. It's very streamlined, very automated.
And just with clicks of a button. And I really do like I believe where I like the most is probably the approval process, that it just routes through the system, but then whoever has access to that, admin area to see where are those approvals sitting. You can go back to that and be like, okay, it's here. You maybe know who to push.
And Kathy, I appreciate the pushes every time I get them. So thank you very much for that. What's now with our approval process, with automation, do we have processes where at certain dollar levels things are just approved, or they're moved quicker through the process, or do we still go on it very much click by click, irrelevant of dollars?
The way we do it is everything will go through an approval process through someone. If there are certain, levels of 5,000, 10,000, 15, if you have certain levels within your company, you're able to add an additional approver. So you can maybe get that department head to approve it, but once they approve it, it then jumps to maybe that next level. So you can set it up that way or add other approvals for that specific invoice. So it jumps around. And then again, you're not jumping from room to room to try and find people.
Right. Yeah, no, that'd be a lot of steps from Rochester to Toronto. So I get that.
And then back to somewhere.
And then back, right. You'd be living on the road. Now, when we talk about, the advantages, what's the most unexpected, albeit whether positive or negative? Like, what's the most unexpected outcome that automation opened your eyes to or kind of showed the business?
Well, it was a time saver for sure.
Okay. And but you must have kind of thought that would happen, or you hadn't haven't really thought about like the time, just about the ease.
It was,
Okay.
I do believe the ease, you just kind of look at it and you know what it's supposed to be doing, but when it's in front of you and you're like, wow, that's all I need to do is put this code in. Once this code is in, I can send it for approval, and you click this button and all of a sudden it's in your ERP.
Right. It's like magic.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, being able to just put it into the ERP like that, like whether you're pushing or pulling, is just that in itself is a huge saver.
It is a huge,
right?
Very huge.
And again, you always can look it up in the ERP. It is there under in your history, but to be able to go, to your AP automation system and be able to look up those and see the process that it went through and where it's at, where
Right.
it's at, when it's sometimes when it's sitting in your ERP, you're not, maybe you do enter them, but you're still waiting for approvals. You're not quite sure what step you're at.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, do you find it an easy functionality to search within the platform when you're looking for past approvals or past invoices? Or do you find yourself going back to the ERP to do your searches? Like when you're trying to pull up something historical?
No.
I do not use the ERP at all. I use the historical out of the AP automation.
I mean, I think that's the magic right there. I mean, the
Yep.
ERP like systems are just so complex that the less we have to manually be going in and out, I think the better. And knowing that you stay compliant by using a platform just helps you sleep at night. And so that's the big area that I think often we don't really emphasize is, by being able to go in and out of your ERP, but knowing that every interaction keeps you within compliance is a huge win. I mean, none of us like the A word, but if it happens, you want to always be compliant, and so that's huge.
Right. Yes, and so that is there, and again, just even the final steps. You think maybe once you push it into your ERP, then okay, that's it. But no, then you go back for payments. Of course, you do those out of your ERP, but that information getting fed back into the AP automation into your system to be able to have that payment number and tracking and.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, I think that. And what ERP do we use currently? Do you use with the platform currently?
We use GP currently.
GP. I mean, there's a legacy, Trojan horse that's been around since the start of time, since before I was in the business world, that's for sure. And now, with that being sunsetted, is there any nerves about moving to a new ERP, or does having an automation platform help alleviate some of that?
Well, there's always nerves about moving to an ERP. I will say AP is the least amount of nerves I have.
Yes, I would agree.
We were both here we've switched from a different ERP into GP, and it's quite a process, but
yeah, there's a lot to it. And I
there's
think
a lot to it.
There
yes.
So often, like the change management, there's just so many pieces to it that I think being in front of the change management is so crucial. But having a platform that just creates a little bit less chaos or removes some of the already built up anxiety, there's another A word, that we end up taking for granted that if we can just keep some things the same, it will create a smoother transition.
And that will be the interesting part, because again, when we went through the other transition, when we moved to GP, we had to learn every module, and
right.
Julie had to learn how to input into that. But yes, it will be nice if we move to another ERP to see how that can transition. So we don't even really have to learn fully all of that data entry part of the AP, because our AP automation system will handle that.
Okay. And I mean, obviously there's discussion. Is there any plans to moving ERP systems in the upcoming future? There must be sooner than later, or are we going to hold off until?
No, it does sound like there's starting to become talks on that maybe within the next year or two, we're already starting to figure out which ERP might benefit us. And again, that's a little above our level as well, that will be confided in, but others are doing the research to what would work best.
Right. Well,
for us and the company.
I look forward to coming back in those years and asking, because I'd love to then know. I mean, a lot of those ERPs, they do offer an automation within the AP area, albeit, a kind of a tuned down view. I'd love to see, understand the differences and where you see like the advantages of still using that third party AP automation. Because I know they exist, and I know any customer that's left and tried to use the free version has always come back knowing that, they want the details that we offer and not just the high level view. But
that has become that way, with a lot of things. It's different how free software or free systems used to be like, but you find out they're usually very bare minimal, and you need a little bit more detail than what it's going to give you.
Yeah, no, I agree. But, sometimes you just need to get a taste of it, and then it opens your eyes to the idea. So when you look back at the move and look back at coming over to AP automation, what message would you send to yourself back in 2021? Like, what would be the message based on what you recall your feelings at at that time that you would say today in 2025, whether it be, a hang in there or, buckle down, it only gets crazier. What would that message really be?
And I'm going to probably defer to Julie. I wasn't a main part of it from my standpoint, from just the times I came into training. It really didn't have all to do with just the AP automation. It is just, again, one of those systems. It's another piece that you're like, oh, it just takes time. It takes time out of your day. You have to add in time to learn it and to do it when you're first using it, that, maybe you weren't. You still have your normal day-to-day stuff, but now you're going to add in some time, knowing in the end,
Yep. It's going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I would just say. It's going to get much better. Just go through this. It'll get much better at the end.
Yeah. And I agree. I think that's what it's just, that change is never comfortable. Right. And so I think that anytime you're going through that, there's just a bit of resistance, or just the chaos just kind of creates not an ideal. But anyone that I've spoken with over the past year, and they've talked even just about upgrading from an older system to a newer system, like that, in the moment it's chaotic, but when you get to the other side of it, you start actually utilizing the benefits and the processes that are built in, life's just better. I mean, and you ladies both said, it's easier. We've simplified the everyday by being able to use automation. And I think that is, that's the real message.
You just have to get through the original hump of, anytime. The change mostly in a company standpoint, when you're implementing these new things, is mostly I have my day-to-day and now I have to try and fit this in to learn something else. But once it's, if you could just snap your fingers and it would all be running.
Oh, yeah, that's called the magical
Exactly.
princess set. Yeah, right. My daughter has one of those wands. It works beautiful. So, and I don't know if you've ever thought about it this way, but when you think about the amount of time that AP automation has saved you, albeit, let's say, on a weekly basis, can you quantify that time? And even if you can't give it to me in minutes, what has that time led to in actions that you wouldn't have been able to do before we had automation?
Like how much time we're saving in our day? Well, we're pretty low volume. I would probably estimate, maybe for us, we do under 50 payables a month. So we save about, I would say, 5 to 10 hours a month.
But I mean, if that's the case, that's incredible. 5 to 10 hours on 50 payables is huge, I think. I mean, I don't know if it's as scalable, because if we have customers doing thousands of invoices, I don't think we're giving them back months of time. But I do think that, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think for ours, because ours was we're saying that because it was pretty manual. I mean, and again, if you go back to the days of being in your office and you need to find someone and hand this piece of paper to them, and I get to their office, they're not here, they're in a meeting. Now I got to go back down. So cumulative of that, and I can't enter this until I get approval. And now they're out, and now and actually maybe more, it's rather than quantitative in time, it's just the disruption in your day. You can't get something accomplished. Whereas now you just code it, click the button, and it can sit with the approver. Goodbye.
Right.
I know the system is going to take care of it and give alerts and give emails and give, reminders to those people. So I don't have to worry about it.
Right. No, that's true. And if there's an issue, you don't have to restarting the process isn't adding all the way back. You get to just see, comment on what needs to be corrected, and then resend that out. Right. And so that in itself too, the errors.
Right.
Do you think it's led to a better vendor relationship in terms, of the 50 payables? Let's say, are we better at being on top of? I mean, I feel like you two are really good at this anyway, but being on top of those invoicing and the paying of the bills, and to me, it creates a better vendor relationship because you're on time with your payments. You're not getting charged late fees. But have you noticed that within the business in real time?
Well, and I think where the real time comes in is the fact that it's all, we're getting all invoices emailed to us. So it's all kind of that electronic. We have a better idea. When you're just getting them by mail or helter skelter here or doing that, you can't kind of keep track as well of what's in there. Whereas now, and again, you are right. I mean, we normally, because we don't process a lot, we did stay on top of with our vendors. So would our vendors say they felt much? I'm not sure, but for us, it's much easier to keep track of.
Okay. Well, that's great. And now, do you use the automation on the accounts receivable side as well?
No.
No.
Oh,
No.
actually,
Okay.
we do. We store some documents in it,
Right.
but we don't use the
You capture
automation
an
of.
index though. Like you can go
Right.
back and find old contracts or old
Right.
invoices.
Correct.
Right. So we do those, but there's nothing. We don't use it.
Fair enough. How do you find even just that though, the capture, index, retrieve functionality? Like, do you find you're going back often to find old invoices or contracts, or is it a tool that just is? It's nice that it comes with the platform, but not something that you are actioning that often.
We actually, I mean, it's not like, but that's our go-to now. I do use that it's nice to have everything stored in one area
One
and
place.
one system.
Right.
Again, you can have different systems, but it's nice that it's all.
Yeah,
All
I
in
mean
one.
that's what I enjoy. Like the fact if I need to pull something up quickly, I know I can go to my accounts receivables tabs and it's there, and I know right away history of any incoming payment or customer. I think that opens a lot of doors just for an ease of use, right?
Yes,
To have
and
everything one
I
platform.
will say the nice thing with Julie and I is when we implemented that capture for the AR side to be able to look, we already knew the system. There were people coming in being like, what is this? And not that it's hard to look up, but you're kind of training, whereas we're like, oh, no training on this. We understand the system and we know what needs to be
Right.
done. So, and how to get to that information. So.
And so when you're thinking about future proofing or like, let's say, we're talking about 2021 to now. So let's talk about the next half of the decade. What are things that you would like to see in an AP automation platform or areas that, your current platform could add some feature sets? Like, do you ever think about like, ooh, I really wish it did this, or I wonder how I could do this. Like, and if you haven't thought of that, that's fine. But I'm sure everyone at some point's been like, I really wish this happened.
There's sometimes, and maybe there's more to it than I know. Like, it would almost be nice if there was a little bit of reporting or things we could pull back to get more. Again, we can look up single invoices, you can look up a vendor, but I'm not sure of the reporting capabilities. Again, you can get that out of your ERP, but
You can.
some basic stuff, and it depends on your ERP. Sometimes those reports are not easy to get to in your ERP as well, or you're getting a lot of other stuff. So.
Right. No, that's true. Now, and have you used it all within your current platform, the Excel files and those that are created through the monthly processing and understanding any of that area?
No.
And I
No.
think that's a perfect comment, because I think that's true for a lot of companies. Like everyone is so busy. Although we save time, that just means there's more time to do other activities.
Other things.
If you will, as they say in Step Brothers, if you put in bunk beds, you just have more room for activities. But but that time gets eaten up with those new, day-to-day functions. And I often wonder if it would be nice, I think, if everyone could just like take a minute because we all create so much data, right? As much as I deal in the currency of time, the new currency of the new millennium is data that's come from just everything that we do as we put more and more into IT systems. And I think that so many companies have that data, and none of us know how or have figured out the perfect science on how to analyze it and then create new action items or insights from it. And so, I
think that is the whole thing with like implementing a new system is you basically focus on that main, and maybe some of those things you just have to focus on right away is all you focus on. And then the way the system can work, there's maybe other things, but you're so busy in the day to day and you were getting it some other way that you're like, I don't have time to ask about this right now.
Right.
I'll just keep doing it until you finally are like, oh, wait, maybe it does do, maybe it would be worthwhile to ask about this. And sometimes you do go back and you find out they're like, well, we can easily get, do that. Or
I mean, you're a team of two, but let's say there's three total within the finance area. Like that's still a very, very small team, regardless of size of company. And so, I mean, you wear many hats on top of just AP, right? And so the AP being
Correct.
automated does allow you to wear those other hats. And
that is
Yes.
huge, because again,
Yep.
when you talk about the most time saving, it's the disruptions in our day,
Mhm.
because we are bouncing all over. So to have a system, an AP automation system that, like I said, you can maybe spend a little bit of time working on these invoices, shooting them off, and you're like, they're out for approval. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And you're not chasing them down the same way either. Like you said, having
Right.
to wait at
Correct.
someone's desk, hoping they're coming in that day.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes,
Correct.
yes.
And so, I've really appreciated and really enjoyed the past 30 minutes of conversation. I think that there's a lot of insight here around just the ease of use, the time that it's afforded you to be able to take on multiple other activities within an organization, as well as just a very true conversation around getting through the bumps to get to the smoothness, and then just that everyday simplicity that is offered through automation. What would be your message? Like what's the message that you would want others that haven't gone to automation to know? As we get ready to sign off, what's those parting words you want to make sure that those that are contemplating or nervous about automation, how can you help them see the real diamond in the rough? Or diamond and carbons, and coal, they're made up of the same chemical. It just all depends how much pressure there is. So
Mine is just get through it, because it's a shining star at the end.
perfect. Okay, thank you. Kathy, from you?
I believe it's the same. Like I said, it seems daunting and overwhelming, but it is quite amazing how by a few clicks of a button you can
Right.
run this through your system and
It's magic.
and the ease. It's yep.
I mean, if that's the case, then hocus pocus. Thank
That's
you very
right.
much for joining Metafile Minutes. Anytime you want to talk about the currency of time, please reach out. We'd love to simplify your everyday. Stay tuned for next time. Bye-bye. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.